and thank you for being patient with Sapion and me. My name is Rao, and I'm the chief mentor for Sapion from a BI, BW, HANA perspective. Just an introduction about myself, what I've been doing. I have about 20 plus years of IT experience. Hi, guys, please be on mute. Please be on mute. 20 plus years of experience in IT, 16 plus in SAP space, 13 plus in BI, BW with HANA. Multiple implementation support projects I've done both in US and in India. Moved to India in 2011, then was in Bangalore for 9 months with SAP on a contract basis, supporting their HANA system. My US stint was for about 12 years. I'm based out of Hyderabad now. My parents live here, so I'm here. Platinum level consultant. What is platinum level? Platinum level consultants are those guys who are certified by SAP. And also we go through a rigorous process of interviews. The qualification to be a platinum level consultant is you got to have 5 end-to-end implementations in 5 different industries, apart from the rigorous interview process. So that's what my current career level is. I've been teaching for more than 9 years. I've built SAP consultants, predominantly BI, BW consultants. HANA is new though. HANA is a new technology, so I've been doing this for 9 years, specifically in those 2 areas. I've also taught people in integrated planning. This is we call it IP, and that's also a part of BW, which is the data warehouse. But it's nothing to do with reporting. This is more planning and budgeting solutions. So guys, please be on mute. I can hear people joining, but not on mute. Mute your microphones, otherwise I'll hear everything what is happening in your house. It's not good. Okay. So that's a brief introduction about myself. For all practical purposes, I'm the only mentor in Sapion. We used to have 2 more people, but they are busy with projects, so we wanted them to be off our panel. Now let's move on. Today we are here to know about HANA. Okay, what HANA is and why SAP got into HANA, things like that. So first of all, before we go further, I'm going to talk about what 3-tier architecture is. Some of you are SAP consultants already, so you know what it is. Okay, but just to let you know that all SAP products, you take their ERP product, you take their BW product or any product, SRM, CRM, it's all 3-tier architecture. What is 3-tier architecture? You have something called a client presentation server, and you have an application server, and you have a database server. What are these servers? Basically, server, when you call it as a server, it is just allocating memory and the processing speed. Client presentation server means when software is installed on your laptop or desktop. Application server is something which is your screens and flow logic. You know, when I log into SAP, let's say I'm doing a sales order entry in the ERP system. I go through a bunch of screens. That's an application, right? When you go to flipkart.com on the browser, right? So you add everything to your shopping cart. That's an application. That's what I mean by application server. Then you have ultimately where the data sits, which is called database server. Now, all these years prior to the invention of HANA, SAP had, let's say you talk about SAP ERP or BW, which is a data warehouse system. The database servers were always Oracle, DB2, Sybase, and give me one, SQL Server. Okay, these are all database products built. This is a software built by different database vendors in the software industry. So SAP always used to, let's say if I'm a new customer buying SAP products to install and implement, what used to happen is I used to get one license from Oracle or Sybase or DB2 or SQL Server, the database license as a part of the overall SAP license to be installed. Okay, so there was a dependency of SAP on a separate vendor from a database perspective. Now, after HANA came into picture, by the way, how did HANA come into picture? SAP acquired Sybase and they used Sybase team to do more R&D to build something like HANA from a database perspective. HANA is not just database. I'll come to that aspect. Okay, it's an appliance. So now future is going to be SAP ERP or BW or whatever might be the product. The future is going to be still 3-tier architecture. So I'm going to copy this, paste it here, but the database will be HANA. That's going to be the future. SAP's foresight is April 2016, all their existing customers worldwide, whether they're small customers, big customers, medium-sized customers, you name it, they need to move to HANA database. That's a vision. Now obviously to buy HANA it costs money. To implement HANA, to migrate from a non-HANA system to a HANA system, it involves money. SAP only gives its vision, but how many people will go for it and do it within the deadline has to be seen. Okay? But to let you know, over the next 3 to 5 years, the projects which will be in the market are all migration projects. Migration from non-HANA database SAP systems to HANA-based SAP systems. The HANA technology is new. The first thing what you need to keep in mind is you cannot build a career just on HANA. Okay? You have to complement your HANA knowledge with an existing technology which is already stable in the market. For example, BI. It can be business objects, it can be BW, no problem. If somebody wants to be technical HANA, meaning ABAP programming with HANA, we call it SAP Technical with HANA. The third one is SAP Basis with HANA. Alright? Eventually, after 3 to 5 years, when customers don't have BW, they don't have any other data warehouse products of SAP, but they want to do business intelligence only with HANA functionality, that's when the careers of just SAP HANA trained people will jumpstart. Okay? And that is a reality. So understood what's going to be the future and why people need to learn HANA, but not just jump into HANA right now. Learn a base technology with HANA and then move on with something else later on. Okay, so I go back to the PowerPoint and let's talk about in-memory computing. Anybody, well, you're seeing that. What is memory? What is memory in a computer system? RAM we call. Correct? What does RAM help us with? Processing of information. Isn't it? What does hard drive in a computer help us with? Storage. RAM is temporary storage. When the computer system is processing information, it fetches the data from the hard drive and keeps it temporarily for you to work with on the machine, right? At a high level, I'm just explaining you, everybody knows that. Now if you talk about any BI application, what is BI application? Business intelligence. What is business intelligence, by the way? It helps in critical decision making. It's a software solution which is used specifically for reporting. Alright? We all know that data is stored in databases. Right? When data is stored in databases, if I want to generate a report out of it, what do? I will query. Isn't it? When I query, the query will fetch data from the database and show it on the screen as a report. As simple as that. Right? Nothing, no rocket science there. Now, if I'm querying billions of records of data from the database, it takes time, obviously. Right? Now, every time it goes The query will read the data from the database and fetches it and then process the information to show it on the report. Maybe some calculations happen, etc., etc. Right? But what if the business information data is in the memory itself? It's not in the database. That's what is called in-memory computing. Okay? That means it's not reading the billions of records from the database, but the data is already in the memory. Therefore, it is called in-memory computing, where the data retrieval is faster. This is applicable for BI or any other software solution. If you talk about ERP, what is ERP? Enterprise Resource Planning. We all know at a high levels. A lot of you, I heard from Sujita that you come from SAP background. If you're not, that's fine. I'd keep the explanation to a very layman terminology. So even in ERP, if I'm doing transactions, or I do the transactions, and if I'm doing some basic reports in ERP, the in-memory computing will be helpful in fetching the data in a much faster way. Alright? This concept is not new to the IT world. It's only that SAP adopted this concept and made some tweaks to perform better through HANA. Alright? We'll come to that. So in-memory computing, as you can see, massive quantities of real-time data can be fetched with minimum time, right? That is the whole purpose of having in-memory computing, where the data is stored in RAM during runtime. It's not fetched from database. I'm going to make it bigger, this PowerPoint somehow so this is the vision, in-memory computing, alright? Technology constraints, business outcome, current scenario. Forget all this, don't read all this. My explanation will make it very simple, okay? Obviously, I did not do this PowerPoint. I don't believe in PowerPoints, but I believe in explanation. But I need something to show you guys to explain that concept. That's how it works. The current scenario of all the information system, these are the bottlenecks. The bottlenecks are increasing data volumes. The data volumes are increasing day by day. The number of transactions which are happening in each of the systems. You talk about ERP, you talk about BI. Obviously, BI will not have transactions, but it will have a huge volume of data, etc. So as days progress, as months progress, as years progress, you're having large data volumes, which is a issue, isn't it? Especially if I have to query and do reporting on it. Calculation speed. Day by day, the business demands more complex calculations in a particular solution, right? So when there are complex calculations to be done, the data is to be retrieved from database in huge volumes, then that huge data volume has to be calculated, a result has to be produced in the report. So the calculation speed is also a bottleneck. The third one is type and number of data sources. You have variety of data sources in a enterprise environment. What are data sources? Sources of information, isn't it? So if you talk about a company, and the company will not just have one ERP. ERP will have sales information, purchasing information, accounting information, etc., etc., etc. But maybe that ERP might not have HR information. Let's say they haven't implemented HR module, but they have a separate system called an HR database, which is Oracle or Sybase database, right? Like that, there will be variety of data sources, and those variety of data sources are increasing day by day. All right. The fourth bottleneck is information latency. What is latency? If I ask you a question, what is your name? You will immediately say Ram. If you say after 5 minutes, does it make sense? It doesn't make sense, isn't it? In 2 minutes, I will walk away from you because you're not responding. Correct? That is information latency in simple words. If I want data from source systems to be available in data warehouses, I don't want latency, meaning all through the day transactions are happening in the transaction system. I only load from the transaction system to my BI system in the night to be available next day morning. So there is a latency, isn't it? So we don't want latency. So we want to minimize the latency. There might be a little bit of latency, but we want to minimize the latency to have more near real-time data in for reporting. Okay? So far so good. Offshore, offside. Understand the bottlenecks? Yes, no? All right. Now, let's move on. The future state. We should have information systems which can process terabytes of data in memory. If I have to have terabytes of data in memory, I need to have that much memory to handle that capacity, isn't it? That's why HANA is expensive. Okay, it is easy to buy the software from SAP, even that is expensive. But the hardware is even more expensive. Alright? So, just to let you know, there are more than 127 customers who bought HANA across the world, but only 27, 28 people have implemented HANA. The remaining guys are all waiting to see the success of HANA. Alright? Another aspect of why they are waiting is they don't have money to invest in hardware. Isn't it? 100 GBs of data throughput. You can have hundreds of GBs going up and down the RAM with your front end to have your reporting solution or your ERP solution. This was not possible. This is the future state or the vision which we anticipate in in-memory computing. Freedom from data source. Freedom from data source means I should be able to get data from variety of sources or a single source which can be a middleware for variety of sources. Okay. For example, XML format. Have you heard of XML format? Right? XML format is a universal format. It is not specific to an application. Okay? It is acceptable universally. So if I have different sources giving data in XML format, that becomes one universal format for us to get into the in-memory computing system. Real time. What was the bottleneck in the last slide? Latency. What is the future? Real time. What is real time? Latency means I request for something, it comes in after some time. That is latency. I'm not talking about reports here. I'm talking about data transfer from source systems to BI. Right? Real time means the moment I do run a query, it's going and fetching real-time information from the source itself. There's no question of extraction. Okay? So that is real-time capabilities. This is what in-memory computing is. Real-time, it goes and fetches data from the source and puts it in RAM for us to access the data. All right. How is this possible? All this technology which has come through, how is it possible? It is possible to achieve this through hardware innovations and software innovations. Just by hardware innovations, it's not going to be possible. If you look at this slide, don't read the slide. There's a lot of technical stuff there. I'm going to put it in some layman terminology. Okay? For example, we have blades in servers. Each blade is having multiple CPUs. So the architecture is multi-core architecture with 8 into 8 core CPUs per blade. Okay, that means nothing but you're increasing your hardware capacity to process the information. That's all it is. Okay. The second one is massive parallel scaling with many blades, meaning parallel processing. At the same time, parallel processing is happening because my hardware is able to support that kind of a demand from applications. Whether it is BI applications or ERP applications, it doesn't matter. This is all about hardware, and the partners which are there for hardware is IBM, HP and all. So what is this partners concept in HANA? When I am a company, XYZ company, I went to SAP. I said, boss, I want to buy ERP, I want to buy BW, I want to buy BO, I want to buy something else. SAP will say, no, you, okay, good. I'm happy that you came to me. So now you buy HANA based systems. What is HANA based systems? HANA with all the other software products. Okay. So all the software products will be installed on HANA. Now, when I'm doing that, deal with SAP, they will say, oh, by the way, if you're going to buy HANA, you're going to buy hardware too, because hardware needs to hardware has to support the kind of data what you're expecting, right? So those hardware partners are your IBM and HP. And there are other partners. Dell also has come into picture recently. Okay? So these guys are the guys who do the hardware part of HANA implementation, not the software. The software comes in DVDs. Alright? Now from a software perspective, these are all the things. Now people who are already into BW, I don't know how many people are into, you're coming from an SAP background? BI. BI means? Correct. But BO or BW per se? BW. You? .NET. Okay. People offsite. How many people are from BW, BO, and any other data warehousing background? 1, 2, 3. Few of them I know. I worked with you. All right. Good. I think you have data warehousing background. So just to let you know, people who know BW, what is compression? What is compression? Data is compressed. Correct? Data is compressed. In BW world, compression is compression of data in something called an InfoCube. Right? So all this functionality comes into picture. But the most important functionality is row and column storage. How is data stored traditionally in a normal database? Tell me. BW guys, how is data stored in DSOs? Row storage? Row storage, correct? Record 1, 1 row. Record 2, second row. Record 1000, 1000th row. We know that. How is data stored in InfoCubes? Row storage or column storage? No, if I have to see one record in a fact table, DIM-ID 1 to DIM-ID 10 followed by facts. That's row storage. Agreed? It's like how an RDBMS stores. Okay? But in HANA, you have a concept of row storage and column storage, which makes the performance much faster. Alright? That is the addition from a database perspective, from a HANA perspective. Compression, partitioning. What is partitioning? Guys from BW world, what is partitioning? In BW, there are two things. Just to let you know, okay? You will learn all this when you do the class, okay? Nothing to confuse you. I'll put it in simple words. If I have a database table, I am storing month-wise information. Okay, month 1 to month 60, meaning 5 years of data in a table. I can have the application partition the underlying table by month. So that means from the application, I will make 60 partitions of the underlying database so that if I'm querying on month 12, it's going to be precise and it will only read month 12 data and the response time is faster. That is called physical partitioning, meaning through application, I will make this data table into 60 partitions, each partition 1 month. Okay? When I load the data, it will precisely month 1 will go sit in month 1 partition only from an underlying database table. Okay? Alright? Another reason why it is important for people to know database or SAP BW to learn HANA. If I talk about all these things to a non-HANA person, it becomes difficult to understand. Although I will make it easy to understand. Okay? All right. One second. The difference is the way the data is stored, number one, for read optimization. So the question is, real-time means fetching the data from source and putting it in RAM. What does it make different to HANA? There are two things or three things or four things different. One is how the data is stored itself. Rows and column functionality. The other is huge hardware to have RAM capable of storing billions of records in RAM itself. In BW world, let me talk about BW world. In BW world, when you run a huge query, you don't get the output that faster, right? How much ever RAM you have. Agreed or no, Dharmendra? I don't know whether you're from BW or not. But anyway, there are a lot of other factors which makes HANA different, right from storage to capability. Oh, you're from ABAP. Okay. So then let me finish. Right from storage till capability of storing billions of records in the RAM, right? And doing the calculations in the RAM itself. I don't do any calculation and store it in the database. Okay? There's more to it. No aggregate tables. What does it mean? What is aggregate? No. Give me a base concept of aggregate. What is aggregate? I have record 1 as $100, record 2 as $200, record 3 as $500. If I aggregate this particular quantitative field, what happens? Summation. Aggregation is nothing but summation or summarization. Right? Correct? In HANA, no aggregate tables. Okay? Real-time data capture. This is an old concept. People who are from BW, you know RDA. What RDA is? Real-time data acquisition. So HANA, RDA is old wine in a new bottle. Okay? Old wine in a new bottle. But if you're using HANA, I'm talking about HANA on BW. If you're using HANA as a standalone, it's a new functionality. So these technology innovations on the software side and the technology innovations on the hardware side makes this in-memory computing possible, which is the future state of SAP. So far so good? Next, what is SAP HANA? Now, I always used to say, don't say SAP. There's nothing like SAP. But let me tell you, from a HANA perspective, people don't say SAP HANA. SAP HANA is acceptable in the industry. From a term perspective, it's not a wrong word. All right, you can always say SAP HANA. Like I said, it's an in-memory database with all this functionality. The storage is rows and column tables, multi-dimensional models, aggregation, calculation, and forecasting engines. What are engines? People from the BW world, what is an OLAP engine? What is OLAP engine? Correct. But what does it do? What does OLAP engine do? When you run a BEX query, what happens? BEX query is nothing but a query in BW. Okay? When you run a query, what happens? It fetches data from info providers. Right? So when it fetches data from info providers and shows it on the report, on the screen, the first time I run the report, it will fetch the data and show it on the screen. Second time, if I am running the same report with the same selection criteria, it is faster. Why? Correct. So what is that cache? Cache is nothing but OLAP cache. Right? Alright? That is what OLAP cache is. Alright? So that is what. So similarly, we have some engines which does aggregation, calculation and forecasting in memory itself. Okay? It does all these things in memory. Okay? Now this is hardware. This is exactly what we talked about earlier. I don't want to. So this is actually from Cisco. This presentation is from Cisco because Cisco is also implementing HANA only as a standalone. It's a big implementation happening in Cisco. You all know Cisco, right? Okay. This is all theory, but the gist of it is it's a in-memory database. It is a fusion of both hardware and software, fully engineered to manage billions of rows of data. All right? It is an appliance. Why is it an appliance? People say it's a database. It's an appliance because you have hardware component and a software component. If it was just software, I can call it database. Right? If it was just hardware, then I'll call it hardware, nothing to do with software. Right? That's why they named it as an appliance. High performance analytical appliance. Okay, so we already talked about stored and accessed in RAM, eliminates traditional limitations of spinning magnetic disk, meaning processing at the back end. Data is physically close to CPU, allowing faster and more direct access. Okay? Now, there are two things which are to be taken from this particular thing. Data can be stored using either row or column based, meaning you have an option here. Do we have that option in BW to have column storage? We don't, right? That's why BW powered by HANA means the HANA database allows you to store either row wise or column wise. Okay? If it is just HANA, then we are not talking about BW. We are talking about just a database. I'm going to show you. So there is theoretical aspect of this demo. Then there's a practical aspect of this demo, which I'll show you how HANA. I'm going to load data from a file into a table in HANA and show you the table contents and how that works. Okay? Now, last is HANA has built-in multi-dimensional modeling views that mimic capabilities of OLAP without the need for duplicate data into cubes. This reduces total cost of ownership and perform MDAS. MDAS means multi-dimensional analysis. What is multi-dimensional analysis? You're seeing the same key figures in multiple dimensions. For example, sales revenue in a company. Can it be seen through product line or customer product line or customer product line fiscal year or customer product line fiscal year and region? Right? It's the same thing. Sales revenue only. But the way we look at it is multi-dimensional. Okay? And what is operational reporting? What is operational reporting? BW guys, what is operational reporting? Do you know strategic reporting versus operational reporting? Okay, let me explain. Strategic reporting is reporting done by senior management. What kind of reports they want? They want summary reports. They don't want details. If my sales revenue is $100 billion, does a VP sales care how many sales orders came into picture to contribute to that $100 billion dollars? They don't care. Do they look at hundreds of pages of output to come to that $100 billion? They don't care. It is strategic reporting, summarized reporting at a high level. What is operational reporting? Lower level. For example, if there is a salesperson in a sales department, right? He better knows what is the sales order which contributes to that 100 billion. What is the material which contributes to, or what are the materials which contribute to that 100 billion in that particular sales order? That is operational reporting. Users who want to know the details of the transaction, they do operational reporting. Users who do not want to see the details, but they want to look at the summaries, they do strategic reporting or multi-dimensional analysis. Okay? All right? Now, there are certain tools available in HANA, which is predictive analysis library. What is predictive analysis? Anybody? General term, I'm asking. Predictive. What is prediction? We go to a horror astrologer. What does he predict? You are going to be BI consultants or with HANA or without HANA. Right? He is going to predict that. I'm just kidding. Predictive analysis means there are tools available within HANA which can predict what kind of data is going to be in future. For example, if I have sales revenue now, based on certain factors which I supply to the system, I can figure out what is going to be my projected sales in future. Agreed? What will happen if I increase my sales by 10% and reduce my cost by 5%? What is going to be the effect of my profit in future? Isn't it a predictive analysis? My sales increased by 10%. My cost decreased by 5%. What is going to be my profit in future? Is it not predictive? There are tools available which they are called predictive analysis libraries, PALs. Business function libraries. What is a business function? These are nothing but applications related to certain sales, purchasing, etc. Business function libraries. There are functionality which is already built in HANA. They did not come in the original HANA version 1.0. Slowly they are adding. Okay. This is nothing but built-in web application server. It's called Access Engine. What is a web application server? BW guys. What is a web application server in BW environment? WAS. We call it WAS, right? What is that? BW guys offsite. What is WAS? How do you think your web reporting works? How do you think your web reporting works on a browser in Bex tools? You build a web application through Web Application Designer, correct? It's called WAD. Now it is obsolete, okay? Because of business objects web intelligence. Web application server is what is inbuilt in BW. Okay? So similarly, built-in web application server, it's called Access Engine. It's not called WAS. To provide direct access to underlying data. Alright? Instead of having a separate application server, the server is inbuilt in HANA. That's what it's trying to say. Okay? This is the overall scenario of HANA, how HANA works. What Sapion and Rao will cover is the scope, what you see in this slide. Okay? Now, down below, you have SAP Business Suite apps. What is this SAP Business Suite apps? SAP ERP, SAP CRM, SAP SRM. Agreed? That is what SAP Business Suite apps is. Let me just find my cursor here. Okay. There are two ways to load data, okay, into HANA. One is called SAP DXC, Direct Extract Connector. Okay. Imagine that it is just a tool for you to extract data from an SAP application to HANA. Very simple. Okay. The second one is called SAP LT. Okay. And we call it SLT. And this is real-time, this is real-time replication. Okay. So this is batch replication. What is batch replication? Data, there is a latency. There is the latency, meaning I request data right now. After a few minutes, correct, scheduled. After a few minutes or few hours, the data will come into SAP HANA. Here in this case, hold on, my cursor, it's real time. Okay? Two types. Now before I go further into SAP in-memory database, I want to show you the other scenario. What we teach is SAP BW powered by HANA. We don't teach just SAP HANA. It's a useless thing at this moment. Okay? That is one of the reasons why you need to know BW. The other way to bring data into HANA is like this, batch wise. Batch wise, there are two options. One is go take the data to BW, which is the data warehouse, or batch wise take it via BODS. What is BODS? BO Data Services. It is an ETL tool which is used to take data to HANA. You see this, look at my cursor. So it is going like this, and like this to HANA. That is one way of moving data. The other is like this, go straight, take the data to BW, from BW via in-memory database to reporting tools. Okay? The thing which we will emphasize in our course is not only this, but also this. Because you need to know that. Alright? People who have invested money in HANA, they have BW. So they are not going to just forget about thousands and millions of dollars they spent on BW solutions and their build. They will leverage HANA where BW is sitting on top of HANA as a database. Okay? So that is what this happens. Okay. So how many types of data replication which can happen to HANA? One is this. Other is SLT. The other is via BW, because BW itself has its own ETL. We all know that. Agreed? Now once the data comes here to SAP in-memory database, you can do aggregation, calculation and forecasting via engines. All this is happening in what? In memory. Multi-dimensional models. You can build multi-dimensional models. How do you build multi-dimensional models in BW? Guys who are BW consultants. How do you build multi-dimensional models in BW? InfoCube, right? Same way you can build cubes in HANA. Correct? Correct. So let me tell you the same thing. So the question is, when I can do multi-dimensional models in HANA directly, why should I have BW? It's a good question. These questions are asked to SAP sales team, and SAP sales team will say BW is disappearing from the market. Don't learn and don't implement, because future is all HANA. I will tell you why we need BW. BW has got the tremendous advantage of BI content, which is all predefined cubes, all objects, queries, everything. What SAP thinks is required for any company to use when they have ERP. Okay? That is immense wealth for a corporation. They've already implemented database solution, data warehousing solutions are running, ETLs are running, people are using queries, workbooks for last 10, 15, 12, whatever number of years. Right? Just because SAP came up with the new database, the whole thing or the advantage of BI content, the way it works seamlessly with CRM, SRM, ERP, all that is not going to go away. Clear? Now, having said that, HANA is having same concept of BI content, but it is evolving. They want to do the same thing what they did with ERP and BW by building BI content, standard delivered objects. But they are slowly developing that functionality. So eventually after 4 or 5 years of HANA, you will have whatever BW supports, you might have a similar thing in HANA. Okay? What could be the difference? I don't know yet. I need to travel to Germany and get access to German developers. Okay? Does that answer your question? Huh? Yes or no? No. It doesn't answer your question because do you know what BI content is? So we will talk offline. Okay? That's understandable. Nothing to do with what you know, what you don't know. Okay? Guys offsite, you understand the BI content advantages and why BW is necessary, why it can't be just shelved in a trash can? Offsite, all the BI consultants over there. Although we experienced a different, guys who worked with me in the past at the client's place, we experienced a totally different strategy. Isn't it? Okay. Now, from this in-memory database, you have your reporting tool. Now, from a reporting perspective, all HANA reporting is business objects, except when they have BW.
Hello.
Hi. Go ahead. Hello. I can hear you.
Okay.
Somebody said
my question
hi.
is, okay. Hi.
Go ahead.
Okay. So, as you said, there are three ways to load the data. One, one is SLT, one is a direct extractor that is directly loading data to SAP HANA. Now, we also have the third way, which is, we are loading data to the BW system, right?
Right.
Okay. So, we actually, BW, what I understand is we also have a BWA, which is used for, which is actually a tracks concept is used where, the data can be fetched there.
You talk about BW accelerator.
Right, BW accelerator.
Okay, go ahead.
So the BW system, what I understand is there is a delay. The data is not real time there. Okay, so maybe depending upon the load, it is older than a day or some hours. So
latency.
in that case, yeah, latency we are talking about.
Right.
So in that case, even if we connect SAP HANA to BW, there will be all there is again data latency there. So
okay, let me explain. The way I get your question is, okay, so there are people here also, Tanvir. I'm going to repeat what you were just saying. Okay. So we have the SAP Business Suite. One is DXC to do the loads. The other is SAP SLT. Then of course data services, and we have the BW scenario, right? What Tanvir is saying is there is a latency from a BW perspective. All right. There's always data latency. It is always near real time. BW is not real time. Although RDA came and all that crap, it's all sales talk. It is always near real time. All right. So what Tanvir is saying is that, are you saying that BW, if I want, it all depends on how quickly I want the data, what kind of a real-time data I want. Depending on that, I will choose the scenario. Is that what you're saying, Tanvir?
No, what I'm saying is, right, if we are getting data from BW and loading into HANA, so my reporting capability will increase. That is right. Okay, I can get the report like this quickly.
Right.
But still, will not have the data real time right there. So
correct.
Data will
correct. Absolutely. So Tanvir has a point. He says, I will bring the data to BW on near real time basis, where if it is sitting on top of HANA, my reports are faster. But it is still near real time. That you can't get away with. It is still near real time. Now, Tanvir, if you want real time, use SAP SLT and directly put the data into HANA from your application. Okay?
Okay, but in that case, I think I have to remove my BW, and then I have to just simply replace HANA with
Not
BW.
necessary. See,
So
just because, okay, so in that case he says, I don't want BW, I will take it off. Right? But I'm telling you one thing, just because one solution needs real-time data, it's not that you're going to get away with another 20, 50 solutions which you have in BW, where latency is acceptable, isn't it? You have to, you have to
right.
think about the whole picture. For example, this is strictly for BW guys, so pardon me if you're non-BW, okay? Try to, for example, you have 50 ETLs in BW you built, okay? One finance solution, one sales solution, one purchasing solution, etc. In general ledger finance, you have used RDA, real time data acquisition, okay, where it is still near real time. Although SAP says real time, it is still near real time, okay. All other solutions are having latency, meaning loads are happening in the night, next day morning people will see the data. All right. Just because you have done, for your GL you need real time data, you don't want to decommission all the other solutions which are in BW, isn't it? If you want real time data, you make sure that you use SAP SLT, all right, to do your only GL information to be real time. Agreed? Agreed or no?
Agreed.
Tanvir?
Yeah, agreed. But still, it's not clear because for HANA, if we are going through BW to HANA, okay,
Uh-huh.
in that case, so for HANA, the source data is a BW data, right? So BW is, if I
No.
am not going through, if the process is directly from ECC
No,
to HANA,
For HANA, BW is not the data. Sorry. This arrow, what you see
okay,
here is not representing an ETL. Your HANA cubes and DSOs are optimized for HANA. Listen to this very
okay,
carefully. Your cube is transformed into a HANA cube. In simple words, your DSOs are, in fact, cubes will go away. DSOs will be the future. Okay. So it's like optimizing
okay,
tables to have rows and columns, row storage and column storage. So if you, so simple words, okay, we are going more into technicalities because there are a lot of BW guys, but I'm going to explain to you one thing. When you implement HANA, when you migrate let me go back to Excel. Okay, here I have a DSO. What is a DSO? It is a table in simple words, correct? When I migrate my DSO, this is an existing environment, non-HANA. When I migrate it, this is going to be HANA optimized. But I'm not doing any loads here. There won't be any load from this to HANA. The moment I make it HANA optimized, remember, BW is sitting on top of HANA. So all the functionality of in-memory, everything is right there in the system. You don't do anything. The way the data is stored is changed by doing the migration. There are migration tools. Okay. Got it?
yeah, got it. No.
Right. So there is no this. Sorry, if I've confused you, this is not an ETL. This is not a loading process here. Okay. Okay.
Okay, yeah, got it.
All right. So now the other thing is third-party sources, meaning third-party sources can use SLT for real time and use data BODS for batch. What are third-party sources? Oracle database, Sybase database, whatever is there where business information is stored. Okay? Clear on this? Now when I will show you how the in-memory works when I show you on the system. Sybase is another company which used to have its own product. It's a database like Oracle. Now it is a part of SAP. SAP acquired about 2.5 years ago. Okay. Now the front end tools, I was talking about reporting. If you have BW on top of HANA, your reports will still run exactly the same way because the reports and the queries are on your info providers, but they're faster because the way the data is stored in the underlying database is now HANA. Okay? Now, any table in HANA, you can, the moment you make it HANA optimized, you can switch off in memory and switch on in memory as and when you want. When you switch on in memory, what happens? The table data gets loaded into the memory. How many ever rows you have? If you switch off, it's offloaded. Okay. Why? Because if you are not using certain tables for reporting, why should you have it in memory? Unnecessarily it's occupying RAM. Correct? I'm going to show you one illustration there. So you, if you have BW, your BEX reporting and whatever reporting, it works same. If you don't have BW, Business Objects 4.1, right now it's 4.1 I guess, is the only reporting tool set which is used. So it becomes, from a career perspective, if you are learning just HANA, you need to know BO for sure from a reporting perspective. It's like learning backend and front end. If you know BW, you're learning HANA. If you know BW, you already know BEX, which is the BW reporting tools. Possibly you might know a little bit of business objects also. Then you can consolidate that front-end knowledge, because in this course I teach business objects. I don't teach BEX. If you want BEX, we will provide you recordings. I am a subject matter expert in BEX tools. Okay? So we will provide recordings if you don't know that. Okay? Now, clear so far everybody? On HANA, how the data flows, what are the different ways we can bring data into HANA system, etc., etc. Okay? Now, you have two scenarios. One is HANA standalone. Don't read all this, okay? If you want, I can send it to you. It's a waste. The reason I have it here is I should be able to explain. All right? HANA standalone and HANA on top of BW. Two scenarios. Exactly what you have seen in this. Okay? What we teach is HANA powered by BW. So we will teach you all the things where HANA and BW work together, plus reporting. But when we are covering the HANA concepts, we are learning all the HANA concepts. Remember, guys, this might be a surprise for you. I don't know whether you got the course content. We will teach you SQL, which is absolutely mandatory for working with HANA. All the BW consultants out there, the way we do SQL is slightly different. If you know SQL in Oracle, that's fine. Good. Happy. But we have a SQL expert who will only take the SQL classes. SQL will be written on a tool called HANA Studio. SQL is used extensively in HANA. If you want to master HANA, you need to know SQL. If you want to master HANA with BW, you still need to know SQL to the extent that you want to know. Because certain data manipulations can only happen in SQL, not with BW transformations and all that crap. Okay? So if you think that you're going back to SQL, oh shit, why should I go back to SQL? You don't have a choice, because HANA is a database. It's an appliance, hardware and software, where the software component is database. So SQL goes without saying. Okay? So as a part of this course, we will teach you SQL. Practice SQL to the extent that you are able to clear interviews and work with SQL. It's very important. Where am I going? Hold on. Okay, two scenarios. HANA standalone, meaning what? Just HANA only. Company does not have money for BW. They have just bought the database license. And HANA powered by BW. Two scenarios. And it gives the same kind of thing, leverage power of SAP HANA from any data source and all that stuff. I don't want to get into all this. I would rather show you something on the system. Okay? Now, one thing I want to show you is this. This is very important for you to know. What did I talk about? All the BW consultants out there. BI content in SAP BW is pre-delivered extractors, info providers, queries, you name it. Okay, everything was pre-delivered by SAP by function. Sales has certain thing, purchasing has some certain thing, finance has certain things, etc., etc. Similarly, HANA is coming up with this rapid acceleration solutions, COPA, CRM finance, ERP, cash forecasting, etc. All right. Right now, it's 20 pre-built solutions and it is growing. That's what I was telling you. They are not there yet with the BI content, but they're building something in the line of BI content only on HANA, because I'll tell you why. New customers, listen to this very carefully. If I am a new customer, let's say XYZ company based out in Hyderabad. Let's say, what is that? Aurobindo Pharma. I'm just giving some name. Okay. I never bought SAP. Today I called SAP. They sold me the product. They say, oh, you go with SAP powered by HANA. Oh, very good. He gave me a good discount. I bought. All right. Now, I only bought HANA. I didn't buy BW. But I need reporting capabilities. So I need pre-built scenarios on HANA with my ERP. I bought ERP and HANA. I did not buy BW. So that's where this comes into picture. They are building 20 pre-built solutions are there, but they are going to build few more like BI content. BI content in SAP BW. I'm seeing BW since 1999. Okay, 1.0. The BI content was pathetic, very small when they started. Now every application has got BI content. Do you agree or not, all BW consultants? Right? So same way it is going to be developed from a HANA perspective. Okay? All this is ability to manage billions of transactions, sub-second response times and all that. That's all. We know that it will expedite the processing power. Business focus is speed and agility. Since if they go for HANA, it is all speed. Okay, if the data is coming faster onto the screen, the decisions can be taken faster from a business perspective. Okay, same with real-time access to data. All right, self-service analytics. What is self-service? In the previous demo, I talked about self-service. What is self-service? You go to a Darshini in Hyderabad. You pay money at the counter, 2 idli, 1 vada. He gives you a token. You go and pick up the food. Nobody is going to get you the food, isn't it? Right? That is self-service. What is self-service analytics? Everything is there. You just need to you just need to know how to work with it and get to data what you want. Instead of building something from scratch. Understood? All right? This is all straightforward. Forecast and predict in real time. This is one of the biggest thing. Predictive analysis. Predictive analysis is big. Okay, because companies know if I'm running a report as of yesterday, what is my sales? What's the big deal about it? Right? If I'm running a report for data for last 1 month, 6 years, or whatever it is, it's fetching from the database, doing whatever calculations, showing on me on the output. I want to know what is the future, how the data is going to look, how the business might perform if I put these parameters in. Right? Like projections, isn't it? IT focus, no cubes, no aggregates, BW guys, no cubes, no aggregates. Single appliance approach. Develop reusable models and queries. That is where they are in even BW. That's fine. Accelerate your current SAP technologies with minimum change. What is that? This is very important point. If I have a BW on a non-HANA database, once I migrate to HANA database, everything is going to change. That's what it. Accelerate your current SAP technologies with minimal change. What is the change? You're not building solutions from scratch. You're not building cubes. You're not building DSOs. You're not building the ETL. Migration tools are available. All right. So what is Rao going to teach if migration tools are available? Rao is going to teach you pre-migration steps, migration steps, post-migration steps. Why is it important? To convince your employers to hire you as an SAP BI consultant. Agreed? Am I not going to ask you? For example, if few job requirements say, looking for a BW consultant with 6 years, upgrade experience from previous version is mandatory. Not everybody can apply to that position. Somebody who knows how to upgrade only should apply to that position. Then only he will interview, he'll ask relevant questions. In future, what is going to be the BW requirement? Wanted a BW consultant with HANA knowledge. Migration experience is mandatory. At least one migration. Who's going to teach you that? It's going to be me. Okay? Understood, all BW guys? Okay. All this is to fill up slides, they put all kinds of stuff. But you know, one thing I would like to talk to you about is this third one. Wait, let me find my cursor. Data quality with SAP data services. Do you know what data services is? BODS. It's an ETL tool. Okay. There is a data quality component within BODS which ensures that the quality of data being extracted and transformed and loaded is up to the mark and meets the business requirements. So that is why for all those customers out there and for all those consultants or to-be consultants like you, BODS can be learnt a little later. I will teach you simple ETL using BODS tool. But BODS itself is a career on its own, if you know or not. Okay? It is not recommended to learn BODS because lot of SAP customers right now in this course, although I will show you one example or one or two examples, but listen to this very carefully. Most of the customers right now are using flat file loads into HANA. All right? SLT, DXC and via BW. No load but use BW functionality to power HANA for reporting. Okay. So my recommendation is, oh shit, this BODS is a mandatory requirement for HANA. I need to learn. Don't break your head. Okay. All right. If you know basic BODS, that is good enough, which I will teach. HANA Studio. What is this HANA Studio? It's not a photo studio. It's a tool. All the BW consultants out there. What is RSA-1? What is RSA-1? That's our bread and butter. It's a transaction code, just to let you know. It's a screen where you can do everything what needs to be done to build the solution, manage, maintain the solution. That's bread and butter for all BW consultants. Okay, that screen. Similarly, HANA Studio is bread and butter for all HANA consultants or HANA powered by BW consultants. That's what I'm going to show. Now, before we go further, terminology. Learning SAP is common sense and terminology. Right? Common sense, I'm assuming we all have. Terminology, we need to get used to. So coming back to my cursor, different perspectives of the same thing. What is this perspective? Imagine perspective as a screen or a bunch of screens to do an activity. Okay? In all the BW consultants out there, when you do RSA-1 modeling, what are the things you can do in RSA-1 modeling? I want answers through chat, buddy. You hang on. Let's see if somebody answers. What is RSA-1 modeling? What do you do? Hello? What do you do? RSA-1 modeling, buddy? We have so many BW consultants there. Correct. We model the BW solution. Correct. Simple words. Right. If you do RSA1 BI content, what do? We go and activate the predefined content and work with it. Right. Similarly, HANA Studio is one tool where I can do database development and data provisioning. What is this data provisioning? Data provisioning is DXC, SLT, the real-time and batch mode of bringing data. That's called data provisioning. Database development means everybody knows what that is. Administering and monitoring security. Application developer, meaning I can build screens and all that crap. Information modeler. It's again modeling. Okay? Everything can be done in HANA Studio, meaning indirectly this is RSA1 in HANA. That's what I'm trying to get to. RSA1 is a transaction code. The moment you put it, we go to a screen. It is an Eclipse-based work environment. Okay, the technology is Eclipse. Alright, so that's what I'm going to show you right now as a part of the demo. So I have logged in already to our HANA system. Okay, this is called the HANA Studio, and I have opened a perspective called HANA Modeler. How do you go there? Window, open perspective, HANA Modeler. Okay, and that is what this screen is all about. Once I get in, I log into my HANA system. Now I logged in, so there's only log off showing. If I don't log in, then login will show up. Okay. Now, just to give you an idea as to what it is, this is a catalog. This catalog means these are all the different databases. This is called a schema in HANA. A schema in HANA is nothing but a database. For example, when you have Oracle database installed in your laptop, very simple, listen to this as a story. I have Oracle database installed in my laptop. I want to create an employee database. I'll create a database and I'll build all my tables. Each table will have fields, etc. But the database name is HR. Correct? Employee HR database. That's what this schema is all about. This is schema. So I have already created a schema called Sapion New. That's the database. Okay? It has got all these things. Here there is something called, is there anything underneath it? No. Correct? So, now, just to let you know why SQL is important. Why SQL is important. I create a schema through SQL. I write, create schema so and some other keywords and execute that SQL, it will come and sit here. Clear on that? So that's why SQL is important for sure when you learn HANA. Whether you are a BW consultant with HANA or just HANA, it doesn't matter. Alright? Now what I want to do is, once I log into the system here, like this on the top, okay? Once I log into this HANA database, I will select the system like this. Okay? Once I select the system, all these things will get activated. Otherwise, they're all disabled. You can't do anything. Now, what I'm doing is, I'm going to minimize this screen and I will show you one Excel file. Which is .csv, sorry. This is a batch 16 file, meaning a batchmates, all my current batch 16 guys and what technology they are into. Okay, very simple file. I'm going to close this file. This file I want to not only load it to a HANA, but load it to a table, meaning create a table, load it to HANA. That's what I want to do. How do I do it? Through HANA Studio only. What did I tell you? Whatever you do in HANA, except reporting. Reporting is through BO tools, is through Studio. I'm going to say import In HANA content, I have data from local file. Next, I will do the browse here and I will choose the file. Isn't this the file? Is it the file delimiter is comma or semicolon? It is comma. Header rows exists. Yes, one row is header. The first is column header, right? Same like how we load from a flat file in BW. It's even easier. All right. That's it. Now I'm going to say new schema. Do you want to create a new schema? No, I want to load it to an old schema. So I will just choose a schema called Sapion. See, schema in this case is what? Database. Where is Sapion? Hold on. This one. Okay. Do you want to give a table name? Because what name you give here will become a table name there. So I'm going to say batch 16 or I will say batches. Okay. Next. Then it comes up with this screen. Import data from file. Here I define my key fields. I want to give name and telephone number as key fields. No null values allowed. You're defining a table here. Simple. Alright. Now you want to see the preview here. Name, telephone number, technology. Right. And then that's the preview here. Isn't this the data in the file? And just say finish. When you do finish, look at this. This is like a log. It's called job log. Current job log says importing a flat file to the HANA system using this user ID, submission at this display, status is completed successfully. Okay. Now you want to see whether it actually created a table, but not only create a table, but loaded the data. So I will go to catalog, go to Sapion new database, right? And tables is still blank, right? What do I need to do? Refresh. Now this here, you see what options I have. What options are there? In-memory computing. Agreed? If I have a table with 1 billion records, can I load it to memory like this? Yes, I can. What's stopping me? Right? For reporting purpose. If I'm having a table which is not used for last 2 years for reporting, do you think I should unload it from memory if it is in memory? Yes, I should. Yeah, so I can load into memory. It gives me a warning. Doesn't matter. I loaded it into memory. Okay? Now you want to see the data, what we loaded. Right click on it and say open data preview. The format is incorrect, so that's fine, but this is how the data looks like. Okay? So how quickly did we upload data from a file? The file might be huge also. I have few records here. How quickly we loaded from a file. Based on the file definition, it created a table. We defined what primary keys are, etc., etc. We loaded the data. We loaded it into memory for reporting. If somebody wants to build a report through SQL, they can write a SQL. Right? How do you write SQL? You see this button right here? This is the SQL panel. Once you write SQL, you can save that procedure permanently in HANA to be rerun later on. That's fine. If I write a query, select star from so-and-so, so-and-so, right? If I save that, I can use that select statement anytime to retrieve data, correct? Agreed? This is just a preview of what HANA is, what HANA Studio is, and how things can be done. There's a lot more to learn. This is not the thing. There are a lot of calculations and all that stuff which you can do. The details of the course is given to Sajita already. She can mail to you, all of you who are in the class. Okay. Now, one thing which is very important again, for all the BW guys or non-BW guys, it doesn't matter. Non-BW, I will talk to you a little later. You have to work hard on the system to master every concept. Okay? If you don't work, then you can't learn. By looking at recording and all that doesn't make sense. For all the non-BW guys out there, it's a big learning curve. Okay? It's a learning curve, meaning you can learn. The problem is when I'm talking about HANA powered by, BW powered by HANA concepts, it becomes a difficult thing for you to absorb unless you know the BW concepts. Very simple. I'm very upfront. Okay? So that is the summary of what we are offering. So take my number. All of you, some of you already have my number, but Sujita can give the numbers to you guys. And call me if you have any questions on HANA or what to do. I am coming from this background. What should I do? Should I do BW and then HANA and things like that? Very simple. If you already know BW, this is the time to get into HANA. Okay, you have 1.5 years before, not 1.5 years, maybe 6 months down the line, a lot of projects will come up. So if you want to change your company or move into a project which is HANA based BW project, this is the time to learn the subject matter, work for 3 months and then move on. For all others, you have time. Okay, because you can learn BW and then HANA and things like that. I encourage you to learn an SAP technology and do HANA, not just do HANA. As simple as that. Not because I'm getting any money from you guys. Don't misunderstand me. It is a learning curve. Everything has a learning curve. Like for example, you can't be put in 5th grade directly from 0, correct? You need to do LKG, UKG, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. That is what this is. Okay? Alright. So guys, thank you so much for your time. Once again, apologize for the delay. Looking forward to see you in the class. Thank you. Bye.